Will there be more new Switch games announced in a week where a Nintendo Direct happened? I ask myself that every single time something like this goes down. And each and every time I'm so surprised to find more and more games announced on top of what was already revealed at the Direct. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. We're back with new game announcements of the week, and we've got 6 new ones on top of the Direct. And I want to highlight a few from the Direct at the end because I actually thought there was some sweet stuff. I know that this Direct was highly anticipated, and then we all got convinced it wasn't happening since there was no announcement, and then boom, stealth drop, and then, a lot of third party, no Nintendo. So I understand it wasn't everybody's favorite show, but there still were some goodies, so we'll get to those after these 6. Let me know in the comments down below which of these you're most excited for, which one looks the best to you. There's some good games that have appeared on other platforms, and some new stuff that looks interesting as well. So hit that like button if you enjoy these videos and love knowing what is coming to your Switch. Hope you guys can find a Switch. If you're looking for a Switch, it's hard. It's hard. They're apparently sold out everywhere. The Switch Lite isn't, but the Switch is. So what is coming to this sold out platform? Well, we're kicking it off with Undermine. And I love this one because it's a game I desperately wanted to play on Steam last year and just did not have the time. It combines Binding of Isaac with Rogue Legacy. And as a fan of roguelikes, which I know are they're not even a dime a dozen, they're more like a penny a dozen. I like that mix because it's dungeon crawling and combat from Binding of Isaac with overall meta progression from Rogue Legacy. And I love my meta progression in roguelikes. It's super important to me. You take a game and it might have a great combat loop. You might have an intriguing dungeon design, but if it doesn't have any persistent reason for me to keep diving back into difficult runs, I'm out quickly. So I love games that incentivize you to keep playing, and it sure sounds, based on the very positive reviews, that Undermine does just that. It touts fully procedural dungeons that constantly change, powerful relics that grant special abilities and augment the way you play, challenging boss encounters, emergent environmental effects, distinct zones with new environments, characters, enemies, hazards, permanent character upgrades that improve your prowess, as well as open up new areas to explore, and downright darling artwork. This pixel art is top tier. It looks real nice. As I mentioned, I wanted to play this on Steam. Actually, I think I even tried to talk to the developer, hey, could I check it out? And they never responded. But maybe they'll respond for Switch and we can check it out together. It's supposed to come later in 2020. I'm tempted to buy this one now that it's back in my brain space, but I think I want to wait for Switch. It's kind of what happens if I see a game that looks interesting on Steam. I'm like, this probably will come to Switch, and maybe I'll just wait. So I'm pumped for this one. A lot of you, I think, are going to be pumped for Fae Tactics, especially if you're an RPG fan. This one was announced by Humble Bundle and Endless Fluff Games, which, by the way, great studio name. And it is looking to bring a tactical adventure with all sorts of Fae creatures that you can capture and use in battle to Switch later this year. And they're talking about something very interesting, which is a unique menu-less turn-based gameplay system. And I'm watching the trailer and I'm trying to kind of piece together what that means, because you're still confirming attacks and deciding what you're going to do, but it does look like there aren't any menus. So I'm curious how that's all going to play out. It does look to have lots of depth. It says you can find powerful and unique spells to help tip the scales in your favor, traverse a variety of colorfully detailed environments, unravel secrets as you explore the various conflicts in the world in any order you want, battle all kinds of fake creatures and collect them into your team, befriend a colorful cast of allies, level up and customize their abilities. Also, there's this weird camping mechanic, which has a food matching game grid thing. Also, at one point, the character says ice cream, and I just love that. Fae Tactics looks like a nice callback to tactical games of the past. I remember playing freaking Final Fantasy Tactics Advance on my GBA. My mom got it for me for a big school field trip. We took a trip that was a 7-hour bus ride away, and I was terrified to go alone. My mom, she knew I wanted FFTA. She got it for me. She snuck into my backpack, and that was what I used to calm my fears and also pass the time on that big, long bus ride. Fae Tactics is coming out this spring. I'm excited to see if it turns out to be maybe a modern classic. Bandai Namco has a lot of classic games, and even though they don't like us showing their trailers because of the way they have integrated with YouTube's copyright system, they are releasing the Namco Collection for Switch. And this is an interesting one because it's basically their way of putting a virtual console just for their old games on the system. It's called Namco because that's the name Namco used back in the 80s and early 90s. It's releasing physically and also digitally. Now, it's only announced for Japan right now. This is actually a game that was mentioned during the Japanese version of the mini direct. They got 2 different titles than we got. This is the first of them. And on the 18th of June, you'll be able to buy a physical cartridge that houses the first round of games. But they'll also be putting out a collection app on eShop for free, and then you can buy the games individually, and they'll continue to add. So you got things like Pac-Man, Galaga, Family Jockey, Dragon Spirit, Battle City, Tower of Druaga, Splatterhouse, a lot of games from Namco's past, and hopefully it comes west, because I do think it's cool that the Switch is a hub for all of these old arcade, console, and classic titles. Now, I wish Nintendo would do more. I wish they'd open up a store for things like N64. Maybe one day. Maybe one day they'll really unload on the SNES games. Where is my Donkey Kong Country? That's all I want to play on my Switch. Well, not all I want to play on my Switch. I really want to play something else first party. But alas, we have to wait for first party. You won't have to wait much longer, though, for Boot Hill Bounties, because it's dropping on Switch for $15 on April the 14th. Now, this is a rootin' tootin' spaghetti western cowboy classic RPG. It's got very classic art and looks to be a very classic game, although it does have 2 unique things that make it a little bit more modern. This game released a few years back on Steam and got decent reviews. There are battles that they say are active combat battles. Now, it's not a action RPG, it's still a turn-based RPG, but the battles are more like active time battle type. And you're fighting things like pigs, okay? You're fighting pigs and weird other cowboy dudes. And most importantly, the game can be played drop in, drop out with up to 4 players. So if you want to play the entire adventure solo, you control your whole party. If you want to hop in with a friend or even 3 friends, local co-op is on board and everyone can control a different character, which I think is pretty neat. Not a lot of JRPGs, or this is a WRPG that is a JRPG. So what do you even call it? A WJRPG? I'm not quite sure, but it does look pretty neat. I like that it's doing a cowboy western take on the traditional JRPG, and I like that it has 4-player co-op gameplay. That's pretty neat. They say it has 350 unique inhabitants of Bronco County. Discover unique side quests in the local newspaper, grow crops, cook meals, customize your weapons, learn medical treatments, solve riddles, compete in the Chuck Wagon Chief Cooking Competition, and much more. So it's like Oregon Trail meets Final Fantasy. Might be something cool to take a look at. Now, Gunbrick Reloaded is an interesting one because it comes from the creator of Bomb Chicken and the co-developer of Shovel Knight Dig, Nitrome, or Nitrome, depending on how you like to pronounce things. It's dropping on Switch April the 9th. It's going to be $15, but if you pre-order, it's $12. And this is a sequel/reloaded version of their Gunbrick game, which sees you playing a brick that uses guns. It's very self-explanatory. Now, the game can be had for free, the original game, Gunbrick, on their website, so do note that. It's also available mobily for pretty darn cheap. This promises to have new levels and old levels. I can't really figure out how new it is or how much it is just a collection of old levels plus new levels. And the fact that they're charging $15 instead of a couple bucks on mobile or free on the website has me a little suspicious. But it does look like a fun idea, and I do remember hearing good things about this game when it did launch on mobile a few years ago. Roll your way through a jam-packed world set over 5 unique locations, solve some seriously crafty puzzles, use your shield to defend and your gun to attack, face your gun down to perform a rocket jump. There's actually boss fights? You're a brick, but there are boss fights. Unlock hidden levels and music by the dude who made the tunes for Ridiculous Fishing and Super Crate Box. Actually, I think he's the creator of those games, which is very interesting. 2 fantastic games. Ridiculous Fishing is fun. If you haven't played that, that'd be a great vertical Switch game. Although we don't need more mobile titles on Switch. We need more real titles on Switch, if you will. And a real one got announced in Japan. Shiren the Wanderer, the Tower of Fortune, and the Dice of Fate Plus was announced for Switch. And this is kind of fitting for right now because Pokemon Mystery Dungeon just came to Switch. And this game kind of feels familiar. It is a dungeon crawling roguelite, and it is pretty hardcore. And they are bringing this 5th game to the Switch in Japan later in 2020. Again, no guarantee that it comes westward, but it has a shot. And it was announced at the Direct, and I love that sometimes you can explore the Japanese Directs and find something that you didn't find in your region Direct. I think that's just kind of cool that there are some differences, and it's not the same, the same, I'm blanking on the word, not promotion, presentation across the globe. Goodness gracious. It's been a long week, hasn't it? Washed my hands like 100 times. They look like old man hands at this point. Whew, Shiren the Wanderer, though, he's not an old man. He is doing his best to survive in search of fantastic loot and glorious adventure. It says, lead Sheer the Wanderer and his sidekick Kappa through an expansive world full of eccentric allies, crafty monsters, and tricky dungeons in their quest to conquer the Tower of Fortune. Now, my favorite game out of this week's list is absolutely Undermine. I'm super freaking pumped for that to hit the system. I think it looks beautiful. I think they really have a elegant style to the art, and I love, again, meta progression in my roguelites, and I wanted to play this one before, so I'm so excited it comes to Switch. I hope it happens soon. It just says sometime later in 2020, but I hope it happens soon. I'm also going to give a shout out to Fae Tactics, because that game looks hype. The graphics, it's very colorful. That palette, it's like a freaking rainbow. You can taste the gold at the end, and I hope that it's able to deliver on the nostalgic feelings I have for Final Fantasy Tactics. Now, I do want to touch on some of the direct games, because there are so many announced. Again, I know not from Nintendo. We didn't get our Paper Mario or our Mario 3D World or our Metroid Prime Trilogy, but we did get freaking Shockers. Bioshock 2, and Bioshock Infinite are coming via the Bioshock Collection, and that's my favorite game series of all time. So I have to take a moment to tell you that if you haven't played Bioshock, if you've been a long-time Nintendo gamer, get in on this one. And if you played Bioshock, taking that thing in our pocket is going to be glorious. It's something I've dreamed of since the Switch launched, and we've always talked about, hey, bring us our trilogies, bring us Mass Effect, Dead Space, Bioshock, and 2K is finally stepping up, because they're not only bringing the Bioshock trilogy, they're bringing the first 3 Borderlands games, 1, 2, and Handsome Collection, or 1, 2, and pre-sequel, 1, 2, and pre-sequel, and they're also bringing XCOM 2 Collection with its DLC. So they're doing what people ask. Maybe it would be better if they brought brand new exclusive titles to Switch. One day that could happen, but right now I love that they're taking their back catalog and saying, boom, we're going to make them for Switch. And Bioshock looks really good. All the games are great fits for portable play, and they all drop on May 29th, so I'm super hyped about that. There is a little concern over what is on the cartridges, because it's like Bioshock, I think the games start on the cartridge, and then you have to download the rest, and that's going to be dicey. They're big downloads, because again, these are big games. Bioshock's actually using a 16 gig cartridge, which is kind of neat. So I know that's been a little controversial, but the games are worth the download. You can grab a memory card for cheaper. You might already have one. They're worth the download. I also want to give a shout out to 2 other titles. Good Job. I've been playing a little bit of it. It's actually Nintendo published. It's like an indie game that dropped on the eShop the day of the mini direct, and you're basically a new employee at a company, and you're causing chaos but trying to help. Like, hey, replace the projector that broke, but you're breaking everything in the office space and trying to solve these little physics-based environmental puzzles. It's nothing magical, but it does have a lot of quirky, cute charm, and I'm finding myself enjoying the 4 to 7 minute puzzles. They're pretty neat, and the more damage you deal, the higher your score, and trying to like drive forklifts around and slingshot projectors around and smash things through glass office walls. It's a good time, so I definitely recommend checking that one out. And then I'm going to be a weirdo, and I'm going to say that Clubhouse games could be kind of fun. I know it's not for most people, and honestly, I don't know if I'm going to buy it, but those things were all the rage on Wii, and I remember we had one, Wii Play, and me and my younger brothers, they were a lot younger at the time, but we loved the heck out of that thing. So I think this is going to be a good game for families and people that do have younger budding gamers that really want to play Switch, but maybe aren't ready for something like Breath of the Wild or Fire Emblem Three Houses. But if you are, Catherine Full Body is incredibly good. And it's a game that I was hoping would come to Switch, so I haven't played Full Body. I played and beat and loved the original title, but I skipped over on Full Body because I was like, this seems like a good game for Switch. And as soon as the ratings board rating popped up, I was like, dude, it's coming. So I can't wait for that one in July. In the meantime, though, let me know what you like from this week's list. Maybe it's Undermine, maybe it's Fae Tactics like me. Perhaps you're jonesing for some Boot Hill Bounties, 4-player co-op Western JRPG action. Or, Sheer the Wanderer. If you're a hardcore dungeon crawling fan, that could be for you. Or maybe you just love Namco's old titles like Pac-Man and Galaga. Or maybe you're more impressed by the direct. Bioshock, XCOM, freaking Catherine. Xenoblade Chronicles getting that date on May 29th, and a whole lot more. Until next week, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Hope you're staying safe out there and enjoying your time at home. I love you guys a lot. I appreciate your support. Hit that like button if you had fun today with me. And until next time, thanks again. SwitchForce out.